Hey everyone, welcome to KSSP Podcast. I am Spencer,
And I'm Katie.
and today we're going to be talking about divination.
So, to start off, I've got a definition of divination from the Oxford Dictionary because I honestly had to look this up for this week, for myself, anyways. And it says divination is the practice of seeking knowledge of the future or the unknown by supernatural means. And then I'm going to go over some methods of divination here with this article. All right. So, the methods of divination by learnreligions.com. So we've got tarot card readings. To people unfamiliar with divination, it may seem that someone who reads tarot cards is predicting the future. However, most tarot card readers simply will tell you that the cards simply offer a guideline, and the reader is simply interpreting the probable outcome based upon the forces presently at work. Think of tarot as a tool for self-awareness and reflection, rather than fortune telling. Here are some of the basics to get you started on reading and using tarot cards in your divinatory practice. And that just ends there, I guess. Okay. I'm probably going to butcher this name, but I'm going to go for it anyways. The Celtic Ogham. Named for Ogmar Ogmos, the Celtic god of eloquence and literacy, the Ogham alphabet has become known as a tool of divination for many pagans and Wiccans who follow a Celtic-based path. Learn how to make and use your own set for divination. The Norse runes. Long ago, according to the epic sagas of the Norse people, Odin created the runes as a gift to mankind. These symbols, sacred and holy, were originally carved into stone. Over centuries, they evolved into a collection of 16 letters, each with a metaphorical and divinatory meaning. Learn how to make your own set of runes and how to read what they say. Reading tea leaves. There are numerous methods of divination that people have used since time began. One of the most iconic is the notion of reading tea leaves, also called tasseography or tassomancy. This divination method isn't quite as ancient as some of the other popular and well-known systems and appears to have begun around the 17th century. Pendulum divination. A pendulum is one of the simplest and easiest forms of divination. It is a simple matter of yes-no questions being asked and answered. Although you can purchase pendulums commercially ranging from about $15 to $60, it's not hard to make one of your own. Typically, most people use a crystal or stone, but you can use any object that's got a bit of weight to it. There are several ways you can use a pendulum for divination. You'd be surprised what you can learn with yes and no answers. The trick is to learn to ask the right questions. Osteomancy, reading the bones. The use of bones for divination, sometimes called osteomancy, has been performed by cultures the world over for thousands of years. While there are a number of different methods, the purpose is typically the same, to foretell the future utilizing the messages displayed in the bones. Lithomancy, divination with stones. Lithomancy is the practice of performing divination by reading stones. In some cultures, the casting of stones was believed to be fairly common, a bit like checking one's daily horoscope in the morning paper. However, because our ancient ancestors didn't leave us a lot of information about how to read the stones, many of the specific aspects of the practice have been lost forever. Here's one of the methods you can use for stone divination. Full moon water scrying. Are you one of those people who feels more sensitive and alert during the time of the full moon? Channel that energy into something useful and try this simple yet effective water scrying divination rite. Numerology. Many pagan spiritual traditions incorporate the practice of numerology. The basic principles of numerology hold that numbers have a great deal of spiritual and magical significance. Some numbers are more potent and powerful than others, and combinations of numbers can be developed for magical use. In addition to magical correspondences, numbers also tie into planetary significance. Automatic writing. One of the most popular ways to get messages from the spirit world is to use automatic writing. This is quite simply a method in which the writer holds a pen or pencil and allows messages to flow through them without any conscious thought or effort. Some people believe that the messages are channeled from the spirit world. Many mediums have claimed to generate messages from famous deceased persons, historical figures, authors, and even composers. As with any form of psychic divination, the more you practice automatic writing, the more you'll come to understand the messages you're receiving from the other side. Develop your psychic abilities. Spend any time at all the pagan and Wiccan communities, and you're bound to meet individuals who have some fairly pronounced psychic abilities. However, many people believe that everyone has some degree of latent psychic abilities, and others it just sits under the surface waiting to be tapped into. Here are some tips on developing your own psychic gifts and divinatory abilities. I don't know why it keeps saying it's going to say more and then it ends, but what is intuition? Intuition is the ability to just know things without being told. Many intuitives make excellent tarot card readers because the skill gives them an advantage when reading cards for a client. This is sometimes referred to as clairsentience. Of all the psychic abilities, intuition may well be the most common. So that's what I have.
Okay. I like. I didn't realize there were so many different ways that you could, I guess, in a way, use divination. Because obviously I knew, like, I personally have tarot cards, a lot of tarot decks, and use those. I wouldn't say like frequently, but I do use them a lot. Because I do. I'm not gonna say I fully like whenever I use them, I like we talk about with anything, am still a little skeptical because I think you should be. But I still like to use them. I don't know, because I also find them fun. But it's about, to me, just using them as a guide, but they're not like a um what do I want to say? They're not going to what, like, I don't trust them to fully tell me what to do, but I do like to use them maybe as a guide because I do think they can help you maybe uncover things that you don't aren't consciously aware of, which I will kind of talk about too. But first, I want to start with just some history. I have some notes here. I'm not gonna share, like, I'll share my screen in a little bit, but I'm just gonna read these quick. Or yeah, I'm just gonna read these quick, I think. So, just some points I would say about divination and history. I have some points here. I think most of these are from Wikipedia. So, if a Greek general wanted to know if the omens were proper for him to advance on the enemy, he would ask his seer both that question and if it were better for him to remain on the defensive. If the seer gave consistent answers, the advice was considered valid. During battle, generals would frequently ask seers at both the campground and at the battlefield. The campground entailed the seer slaughtering a sheep and examining its liver for answers regarding a more generic question. The battlefield involved killing a young female goat by slitting its throat and noting the animal's last movements and blood flow. The battlefield sacrifice only occurred when two armies prepared for battle against each other. Neither force would advance until the seer revealed appropriate omens. Because the seers had such power over influential individuals in ancient Greece, many were skeptical of the accuracy and honesty of the seers. The degree to which seers were honest depends entirely on the individual seers. Despite the doubt surrounding individual seers, the craft as a whole was well regarded and trusted by the Greeks, and the Stoics accounted for the validity of divination in their physics. So then the next one here, the divination method of casting lots, was used by the remaining 11 disciples of Jesus in Acts 1:23-26 to select a replacement for Judas Iscariot. Therefore, divination was arguably an accepted practice in the early church. However, divination became viewed as a pagan practice by Christian emperors during ancient Rome. In the Constitution of 1572 and public regulations of 1661 of the Electorate of Saxony, capital punishment was used on those predicting the future. Laws forbidding divination practice continue to this day. Another point here, in Islam, astrology, the most widespread divinatory science, is the study of how celestial entities could be applied to the daily lives of people on Earth. It is important to emphasize the practical nature of divinatory sciences because people from all socioeconomic levels and pedigrees sought the advice of astrologers to make important decisions in their lives. And then I have here Itilia. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. Was the first to issue a tarot deck specifically designed for occult purposes around 1789, in keeping with the unsubstantiated belief that such cards were derived from the Book of Thoth. Itilia's tarot contained themes related to ancient Egypt. And then, so this kind of point is what I was talking about when I mentioned that I think tarot cards can kind of help you discover maybe unconscious things that you aren't aware of. With the development of psychology, some people today use tarot cards as a tool for self-exploration and development, and some psychologists use tarot cards as a complementary care therapy. So, through tarot cards, it is claimed that the exploration of the inner self leads to greater freedom within the individual. So, I just found it interesting how in history divination was a very like revered kind of tool. And then obviously today I think a lot more people are obviously skeptical of it than people were in the past. And then another thing that I just kind of wanted to briefly mention is about the how it is in a way outlawed in some places. So I have here Pennsylvania General Assembly and fortune telling. So a person is guilty of a misdemeanor of the third degree if he pretends for gain or lucre to tell fortunes or predict future events by cards, tokens, the inspection of the head or hands of any person, or by the age of anyone, or by consulting the movements of the heavenly bodies. So basically any sort of fortune telling, you can be charged in Pennsylvania. Because I guess it doesn't say if this law is still active, but I feel like it is if they have
Yeah,
it
I don't know if they would
published.
enforce it though.
Yeah, I think so. Then I'll go to here's another one. I think this one is I don't what does it say? I thought this one was in New York. But just showing that there are actual legitimate laws about fortune telling. And then there's this article from the First Amendment Encyclopedia about fortune telling, and it just kind of talks about how basically the First Amendment, in a way, should be defensible for fortune telling. But I believe in the beginning they didn't follow that, but then I want to say yeah, in this one here, the 8th U.S. Circuit Court struck down a Lincoln, Nebraska fortune telling ban. So it kind of basically it's just all over the place, I would say. Like some places it's banned, and then there's arguments about free speech involved with it, and it's just there's a lot more to it than I initially thought, I guess, or would have ever thought about it
Mhm.
being like with the law and history of it. But I do find it very interesting, and it's something that I personally like a tool that I will sometimes use. Just again, not as a like I don't blindly believe it though. That's the big thing for me is I'm not gonna blindly ever believe what car or even a psychic or anyone tells me. Like I'll have an open mind, but I'm not going to 100% take what. But I think again in that case you can apply that anywhere, like not just to divination, but you should take that mindset everywhere. I would say,
Yeah.
but then I also just wanted to. I have this book here about tarot, and I just wanted to talk about, or yeah, kind of talk about and show that with tarot, especially because that's the one that I am knowledgeable about. I don't know the other ones. I'm interested in learning about them sometime, but I don't know how to use them, so I can't really explain how to use them. But tarot, there's just different ways that you can like lay out your cards if you want to get a certain kind of message. So there's like a yes or no where you always shuffle them first, or at least I do. I shuffle them, and there's a bunch of different ways you can shuffle them. So you just have to figure out which shuffling method works for you. But and then with the yes or no method, I want to say you lay, so you're going to have 3 decks, and each deck you're going to lay down 13 cards unless you get an ace. If you get an ace, then you move on to the next deck. And if you get 3 aces, your answer is yes. And if you get 2 aces, your answer is maybe yes. But if you get less than 2 aces, then your answer is no. Suppose. But again, I wouldn't take that. I don't like yes or no questions because I just feel like they're trying to give a concrete answer when I personally don't think cards can give a concrete answer. I think they can give a guideline, but I don't think they, in my opinion, to me, I would never take a concrete answer from them, I guess. If somebody else wants to, that's their decision. It's a free country, or should technically be a free country, but
Mm.
so that's one method. And then there's like a past, present, future spread. So I can maybe kind of show this one here. So again, you're going to shuffle them, and then you're going to pick 3 cards. The first card represents your past, the second middle card represents present, and then the third card represents the future. And then there's like a 4-card spread, so then that's just going to be kind of the same, but it's not past, present, future. It has different meanings behind the cards. There's like, there's like star methods. I think my favorite is the Celtic cross, just because it can give you like a more in-depth story. There's also like a horoscope wheel, which is kind of interesting too. So, and those obviously aren't all there's probably, if you Google, you could probably find a bunch of different spreads and layouts that, I don't know. I find them interesting, like I said, but I would never take anything super concrete from it
Yeah.
personally, because because at the end of the day, they are just cards too, and like I understand the importance for sure to some people, and I'm not discrediting that importance, but I do think it can be dangerous to just take things blindly or take a concrete answer from anything. So I think it's just good to be like skeptical but open-minded, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Anytime dealing with, I would say anything but divination, since that's what we're talking about. Just be open-minded but skeptical at the same time, I would say. But I think that's all that I had to go over too then. Just, I don't know, divination is interesting to me, and maybe sometime we can look into other methods, because I, at least since 23andMe told me that I'm from Norway, supposedly. I think runes are interesting, and I just like the Norse mythology, or I guess I don't know if that was technically their religion back then, but that I just find really interesting. So maybe we can look into that sometime
Yeah,
more
that'd be
in
cool.
depth. But I do think all of them are interesting, but we'll have to look into some of them more in depth sometime, I think,
For
because that'd
sure.
be kind of cool. But did you have anything else to add?
No?
No. Okay. So if you guys want to just leave us a comment below, letting us know what you want us to talk about in future episodes, you can do that.
You can also reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and we do occasionally do some Twitch live streams as well.
So don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you know when we do, because we'd love to see you guys there. But otherwise, we will see you next time.